One of the hardest things I've done in my life, right, is cutting people out that would drag me down, not ever fully knowing whether it was intentional or not. I guess what I mean by that is there are people that how they go about things, right? Their habits, their patterns of behavior, the things that they do, the things that they say, their beliefs, those kinds of things, right? Like you'll know deep down, hey, this person, like the road, the path, the journey I'm trying to go on, this person does not seem to be in line with that road, that journey, that path. And so it can be almost a little easier to say, you know what, I'm about to draw the line in the sand here with that one. But what about when it's not obvious? You know, like what about when, maybe a family member or maybe a friend, right? And you're trying to better yourself, right? You're working on yourself, right? For whatever reason, for as much logical sense as that other person says that it makes sense to improve, self-develop, right? Elevate. For as much as they shout from the top of their lungs, it makes sense to do so. Their actions tell a different story. And in their actions telling a different story, and you knowing that there's only so much time before you die. One of the hardest things is hitting that crossroad, that fork in the road where you have an option. You can spend the time, your own time, which you have no idea how much you have left, hoping, trying to help this individual, friend, family member, cousin, mom, dad, brother, whoever it may be, right? You can spend 5, maybe 10, 15 extra years, right? Trying to elevate them up with you. But what if that never pans out? And what if in you doing that person just drags you down the entire time? What if the better choice, the smarter choice, the choice that actually helps out more people in the long run is the one where you have to make the choice of cutting somebody off that you don't necessarily want to cut off? Somebody that might not necessarily have any foul intention, any misintention, any malicious intention. But the chains of their habits are so heavy that they can't let go of the very chains that are holding them back from the very things that they so seek. And it's painful because it's like you can see that the things that they want, the road to the things that they want, all it needs is just to, let go of the chains. And in this instance, I'm talking about like the chains of habits, maybe traumas, generational traumas, But the grip, the tension on those chains of habits on some people, they're so strong, just kind of holding people in whatever paradigm they're operating from, whatever view of the world it is, whatever belief system, it'll be so strong that even when they say that it makes sense to change, they don't. And it's like you almost feel for them. Like you want to help, but at some point you almost realize, wait a minute, like the amount of energy, time, and effort that I'm spending in trying to elevate said person, this could be energy, time, resources that I could be spending on actually doing the very things that I could be doing, elevating, right? Which in turn could actually help out people that actually want this. Oh, and that's when the realization hits that I could be helping out the people that actually want this. And that is one of the most painful things to kind of come to terms with. It's like, wait a minute, I could be helping the people that want this. Wait, that person I've been trying to help, they don't actually want this. Oh shit, I could keep trying. But if I keep trying to elevate somebody that has effectively been implicitly saying no, Is this not causing more harm than good? Am I not wasting more time than it need to be? And it sucks. It's like there's some people in my life that I never thought I would effectively say, hey man, professional only is the way forward. There's some that I just didn't see coming. There's some that I did and some that I didn't. And it's the ones that I didn't see coming that hurt the most. The ones that kind of leave you wondering a little bit, am I misjudging? Was that too soon? Was that too much? Just wondering, just kind of pondering, not really knowing with like absolute certainty. And that's the killer right there. Not knowing with absolute certainty that my intuitive choice, my intuitive call, my intuitive judgment at that given time of making that choice at that fork of the road, this person, professional only from now on, right? Never knowing with absolute certainty, did I make the right choice? It's not a fun thing to experience. With all of that being said, I just won't talk about some of these things. I'm actually going to give some kind of let's call them signs, indicators, some kind of a litmus test. Like, hey, does this apply in my situation? Sign number 1. How do you feel when you share some of your victories, some of your wins, some of the progress, some of the elevation in your life? What intuitive vibe are you getting from said individual? So for example, if you share a win, right? Do you get the sense that the person feels like a genuine excitement for you? Like if you say, oh my God, I aced the one test, I aced the test, do they seem, like very excited that, hey, you aced that test? Or maybe some dismissiveness, or maybe like some kind of minimizing. That's one of the things that I was, for the most part, ignoring a lot when I would like share with somebody a win in my life. And deep down, I knew that some people, when I would share some of my wins, I could tell that there are some people that would be excited, or sometimes even more excited than me, right? So that group of people that would feel like, say, almost more excited than me at my own win, they vibe differently than the other group of people. The group of people that, at best, they might vocalize support, but you can tell like something's maybe off. Maybe it's like the body language cues. Like maybe there's like a micro expression on their face or something. Like for a second or a moment, you can almost tell that maybe they're putting up a front or like a mask. Like for a second, you almost detect like a disappointment because you've won somehow. Fraction of a second, and then like a fraction of a second later, then you see like a smile, but then like the smile might look forced. And when I say forced, it's not like with certainty that it's forced. You just into it. There's this gut thing where you're like, something about that smile, the win I just shared, doesn't seem as spontaneous and as vibrant as when this other person did it. Now this other person, they were pumped. I shared one of my wins and they were like pumped, like hella excited, But this person, at best, they're showing what looks like excitement, but there's just something's not sitting right. And for far too long, I was ignoring that. And it was throwing my internal compass into like a mass confusion. Just mass confusion, me ignoring that. Sign number 2, selective memory. What I mean by selective memory, especially from this whole, drawing the line in the sand, making that deliberate choice of cutting somebody off because of your self-growth and whatnot. What I mean by selective memory in this instance is that maybe, for example, you share with somebody a self-development goal of yours, right? So maybe your goal is to, let's say, work out more often. Let's do that, right? And you want to work out more often to lose weight. So you want to work out more often to lose weight or lose fat. How about that? Nah, same thing. I'm not going to get all fitness technical about weight versus fat. Doesn't matter. That's not the point for this one. But you want to lose weight. Fair enough, right? And you vocalize this to somebody, whoever it may be, right? We're going to use two people in this example, right? We got Melinda, and I'm only saying Melinda because that's the name of the hot sauce, Melinda. And you got Tabasco. You got Melinda and Tabasco. This is not planned whatsoever. I just saw them over there. Let's get back on track. But you tell Melinda, hey, as part of one of my goals to lose weight, I'm going to be working out. And so with that being said, normally you and I, Melinda, often eat out a lot. And so there's going to be a minimizing of that because I want my workouts to really count towards the weight loss. That way I'm not working out and gaining it all back. So, hey, Melinda, I'm just going to let you know, nothing's changing here other than I'm just not going to be eating out as much with you. All right. Nothing against you. It's just I'm trying to lose some weight. Cool. You tell that to Melinda. And Melinda, maybe for a second, feels a little bit weird about it, But a few minutes later, she understands, you're trying to do this one thing. I respect that. Fair enough, right? Subsequently, the following weekend, Melinda does not actually try to coerce or kind of forget or whatever that, I have, gone with this goal of losing weight. No, Melinda is fully supporting. Cool. Then we got Tabasco. Oh, Tabasco, mild and zesty. We tell Tabasco the same thing. Hey, I'm trying to lose weight, all right? And as a goal, I'm going to be working out. And because I'm working out, in order to try to lose some weight, I want to make sure that those workouts that then lead to the weight loss count for something and not nothing. So I'm going to be minimizing some of the eating out with you. Nothing against you. It's just that when we normally hang out together, normally there's some extra eating that happens that doesn't really help, yada yada yada, right? Tabasco in this instance says the same thing. It's all good. The difference here between Melinda and Tabasco is that Tabasco the following weekend, kind of hits you up about it. Like, hey, you want to go hang out? Want to go eat or whatever? And then you go like, oh no, I appreciate it, but I'm actually down like 2 or 3 pounds, and I'm on a roll, right? And then Tabasco says, oh, okay, that's right. Fair enough, right? Nothing wrong with that. That's actually pretty good. The following weekend, Tabasco hits you up once again. Hey, you want to go eat out? And then at this point, you say, actually, once again, I'm actually pretty good. I'm actually on a mega roll here. I was down 3 pounds, now I'm down 6 pounds. So I am good. I appreciate it. Yada, yada, yada. Tabasco, once again, all right, cool, fair enough, right? 3 weeks later, the same thing happens again. 4 weeks later, the same thing happens again. 5 weeks later, the same thing happens again. 6 weeks later, the same thing happens again. And at every single quote, it's happening again, there seems to be a vibe shift from, oh, okay, it's okay, I just forgot, to an air of tension in the voice. Like it's almost as if Tabasco is concerned or something. It's almost like Tabasco thinks there's something deeper going on here. It isn't just about the weight loss. It's almost as if Tabasco starts to believe that they're being rejected or something. And so in turn, Tabasco starts defaulting to a pattern of behavior indicative, usually the type of behavior that is fear-based in nature. That is almost as if a kid is lost at the store and cannot find their parents. So therefore, the kid now starts to panic and starts to tantrum with the goal, not like logically, but intuitively, with the goal of making as much noise as possible so that the parent goes back and finds this particular kid, Tabasco. That makes a lot of intuitive sense. If you're like a 5-year-old and you cannot find your parents, crying to the top of your lungs makes sense. That way your parents hear you and then you go back. It's like, hey, I'm here. I'm not actually abandoning you, right? That makes sense. It's just, it hits different when it's a grown person doing the same thing. So now every other call, just about every other weekend, starts to induce these feelings of, well, maybe I shouldn't be sticking to my goal like this. Maybe I'm doing too much working out. Maybe I should just ease off of the very own goal that I set, right? A goal that I set. Maybe I should just start throwing it away because Tabasco, this is really bothering Tabasco. Even though this has nothing to do with Tabasco starting to really believe it has to do something with them. Tabasco is starting to exhibit tantruming signs, no different than a 5-year-old that cannot find their parents, because now, evolutionarily speaking, if I am no longer spending time eating out on the weekend, and the one common denominator aside from the food is the very person I'm hanging out with, and in this instance Tabasco, the human mind, the human brain cannot distinguish from the two. The only way that it probably could is if we had like some kind of connection to the brain. That way, for a fact that, imagine there was like a wire, right? You can connect like a wire from one brain to another. That way you can both read your minds, right? So I can read the mind of Tabasco and Tabasco can read my mind. That'd be like the only way that I can think of where like two people can know for a fact, oh, wait a minute, the reason that I am not eating out on the weekend as much has nothing to do with Tabasco. Oh my God. Okay. All right, Alex, I trust you now. But that's not reality. There's no way to know that as of right now. Maybe sometime in the future. That's besides the point. The point is that there's this thing called trust. That's like the closest thing to like a wire connection, right? And the thing is, that shit is not as reliable in terms of the sense of certainty that it gives as that of some kind of imaginary wire from brain to brain, right? So there's this thing called trust. And if there is no trust, you can't fake those primal intuitive things that then start to get stirred up within somebody that can't tell a difference between you effectively abandoning them versus you not doing that whatsoever. And now said person starts doing a certain set of behaviors that start to induce maybe a sense of shame, of guilt. So long story short, with this selective memory part, do you feel that when you are in the presence of that certain person, are you feeling like a sense of shame or guilt for you setting out your own self-elevation goals? Right? Because Melinda did none of that. Melinda has this thing called trust, right? Tabasco has this lack of trust. Prior to starting the workout to lose weight, both of them, I could not distinguish between both Melinda and Tabasco. They were both pleasant to hang out with. The difference here is that, say, at 10 weeks, I can still reach out to Melinda and Melinda's not freaking out because Melinda truly has heard and is trusting that it's just this one thing, right? Tabasco is blowing this out of proportion, not in some logical way. It could be, but not necessarily in a logical way. It's in this very visceral way, this very trauma triggering kind of a way, right? In turn, Tabasco's behaviors then start to almost seem to induce a certain set of behaviors on the other person. In this instance, it could be you, it could be me, right? Sidetrack here. In some ways, I believe that's where a lot of people stop their own self-elevation journeys. I believe that's where a lot of people stop because somebody in their life, they start to feel bad enough that somebody else that's important to them is feeling bad, and therefore, well, maybe I shouldn't make them feel that way. Maybe I'm doing too much, and then a lot of people will just stop elevating. So then they just stay stuck where they're at. along with the person that shamed them or guilted them, whether intentionally, unintentionally, subconsciously, unconsciously, whatever the hell. And for what? Evolutionarily speaking, let's just think about it this way. This is how I think about it. Let's put it this way. Imagine if you're like in a cave, hunter-gatherer. You chose not to leave the cave because your choice to leave the cave to go get some food for the tribe was inducing a sense of shame and guilt on somebody else. In turn, you kind of sense that, so then you start to feel kind of bad. So then you start to choose, oh, well, I won't go out there and hunt, so I don't make this person feel inadequate because they're injured or something. Like, imagine how quickly the whole tribe dies if you're the one person that can hunt. I don't know why there'd be just one person that can hunt, but I'm just making an extreme here just for illustration purposes. Imagine you're the one person that can hunt, and because somebody's starting to feel bad, you don't want them to feel bad. So in turn, your solution is to not make them feel bad by means of shrinking down. How does that help out anybody? That doesn't make any sense. If somebody is feeling something, that's their stuff. That's for them to take care of. That's not for you to deal with. If you try, how are you going to actually be able to help them? Let's put it that way. It's their stuff. It's their stuff. So long as you're doing your best, as long as you're treating them with dignity and respect and all that, right? If even despite you treating them the way you would want to be treated, there's still something that's being triggered, that's them. That's them. It is not your responsibility. If you try to take it on as yours, there seems to be only so many predictable ways or things that you can do to make them not feel those things, and they usually involve some kind of shrinking down or some kind of stopping of the elevation, which makes no sense because the very elevation is the one thing that actually helps out you and everybody else at large. And that's what I have for now. I'm going to be breaking a 2-day fast at some point tomorrow. I've already got some of the food, some sprouts. I don't know, maybe I'll throw some Melinda and Tabasco in there, maybe with a dash of tahini or some basil, or who knows, I don't know. And that's about it. These are some of the thoughts that were bouncing in my head earlier. I figured maybe sharing some of this might help out somebody. That's about it. Until next time.